I have been told that I am supposed to sacrifice my own son. Brother Nashi, how are you? Please post my story as anonymous. I have been going to different sangomas looking for someone that can give me a better solution, because this solution of sacrificing my son so that I can be able to get outside of this cult, it is not going to work. God gave me kids, and amongst the children that he gave to me, I only have one son. With different women, I have other daughters as well. I am a South African man. My name, you will call me Jabu, so that you can understand my story. I might be someone that has a lot of money, but what I am lacking right now, it is what they call inner peace. I sacrificed my dear sister, the one that took me in when I was unemployed, but it was never my choice to sacrifice her. I was only told that I had to sacrifice my sister after I had already written down my name when I traveled to Zim to do these money rituals. It was never my intentions to get rich through money rituals, but I was seduced by my workmate who was a Zimbabwean. His wealth that he had suddenly got, it seduced me, and I thought that I could play with the devil without the devil hurting me. They promised me that there was no blood that was ever going to be needed, but now my hands are full of blood, and still that Sangoma from Zim is still requesting that I sacrifice more and more and more. What really irritates me is that people can even say that, Jabu, you are a blessed man. With the way that your life is working out for you, you are truly blessed. Where are the blessings when you sleep inside of a coffin? Sleeping inside of a coffin with a mad woman. These are not true blessings. These are the blessings that you get after you would have sold your soul to the devil. I am living right now on borrowed time, and even to sleep in the dark, I can't. When I go to bed, this is what I do. I take my phones, 3 of them. I switch on the light and I switch the torch on my 3 phones, just in case. If there is no electricity, I won't be in the dark. The moment that I sleep in the dark, a Togoloshi will come and pull me out of the bed. So I just want to get out of this demonic world, but I can't. I want to tell you my story and let my story be like a warning to South Africa not to play around with sangomas. I was looking for money, but I never knew that money will end up with me sacrificing those that I love the most. My journey into Satanism, it started really simple. I was just an ordinary man who had failed to get a job after graduating. A friend of mine back in 2014 told me that at the Dunlop Tire Center here in Joburg, where he was working, they wanted someone else. So since I was unemployed, he told me to put my degree aside and to come and work. When I went there, the pay, it was just average, just enough to get by. But then at that workshop, I started to work very close with this other man who was a Zimbabwean. His name, we used to call him Teenage Elliot. That was his real name. He was from Zim, because we were working with other guys from Zim. This man, he was hungry for money, and it did not take long for me to realize that he was making money by stealing from work, and he was having a lot of girlfriends. And I joined that crew. We started doing illegal side deals right under the noses of our managers. The operation was just smooth and clever. Whenever a customer drove into the workstation, we would look at their tires. If they were looking for a completely new set of tires on their car, or maybe they just came in for a routine wheel alignment, this is how we used to scam our manager. We would negotiate with the customer to only pay the official company cashier for a simple wheel alignment. to keep the paperwork cheap. But once the car was lifted inside our workstation, hidden from the main camera, we would work very fast. Those guys from Zim, they work very fast. We would swap the old tires, and then we would take brand new tires that we would have hidden in the back. One by one, we mounted. The customer will then pay us directly in cash. He can just drop his money inside of the vehicle. As one of ours is driving out of the workstation, they just picks up the money, and in the system it only reflects that we did a nice wheel alignment, a quick job, but they won't know that we have already swapped 4 tires. So the managers, they did not even know that this was what we were doing. The money that we were earning, it was nice, because per day we could do this maybe about 3-4 times. If we had 10 customers, we knew that 3 customers, they were other ours, and the 7 others, they were for the company. Because of the money that I was making, when you have too much money, you end up attracting women. Before I knew it, I had impregnated many women. I had multiple baby mamas across Johannesburg. It did not even bother me, because I knew that the Dunlop money was supporting all of these women easily. I would be paying their rentals, buying clothes, and drinking expensive alcohol each and every weekend. But it was really short, because the management, they caught onto the missing stock, and the tracking numbers did not lie. They did an audit, and the trap was set. My Zimbabwean workmates and I, we were fired. They said, choose what you want. We call the police, or you just leave. And this was towards month end. That is how clever they were. They made us to work until it was month end before they paid us. The money that I was paid, it was less than 10 cents. That was the money that they gave to me, because you had to choose to be arrested, or you had to choose to just walk away. So many years passed. By late 2016, my life was completely collapsed. The money that I used to make at work, I never invested. I invested in my baby mamas. And these baby mamas of mine, they started to pressure me, thinking that I was lying, that I did not have money. Some, they even went to claim for maintenance. I had nothing. I was living in a nice gated community. I lost that house, and I ended up living at my sister's house. She was married. She was also staying in a location here in Johannesburg. I was a grown man sleeping on a couch in a house run by my brother-in-law. And sometimes it was very bad. You know, people that are married, they can do things. They would think that I am fast asleep, and then they end up doing their things. It was not nice. One afternoon, I was just walking near a shopping center when I saw this other guy who was driving a G-Wagon. He just pulled close to me. I got so scared. I was already suffering from high blood pressure. I nearly collapsed, because it was as if he wanted to hit me. It was that same guy, teenage Elliot. He was the one that was driving. He was wearing this other tracksuit. I still remember laughing at him, saying that you have money, my friend, but you still do not have style when it comes to dressing. He was wearing a tracksuit of many colors. It was really color blocking. This guy, when he stepped out of the Mercedes G-Wagon, he was very loud, screaming at me in his Shona language. And it was Elliot, one of my former Zimbabwean workmates, when I was still working at Dunlop. When we were fired, Elliot, he was broke, no passport, nothing. He even said that he did not have a birth certificate from his country. He was in a worse position than me, because he was undocumented. I was a citizen. But all of a sudden, he was driving a G-Wagon. Elliot, he was laughing, he was hugging me, and he did not mock me because I looked so poor. What he did was that he opened his wallet and he counted a few thousand rands, and he said, "Jabu, my brother, I am going to be hosting a small party at my house in Midrand tonight. You must come. You must come, my brother. A lot of South African women are going to be there. Those ones with big breasts that you love. And we started to laugh. That night, I took the taxi to the address that he gave to me in Midrand. As I was driving to Midrand on that taxi, I kept on wondering, how does a guy like Elliot, who told me that he did not even have a birth certificate, even from his country, end up driving a G-Wagon? It is not like those cheap cars that you can just buy on Facebook. A G-Wagon, guys. That was the car that I had seen him driving. So I finally arrived at the place where Elliot claimed that he was staying. The taxi dropped me off, and then I walked to that estate. When I arrived at the main entrance, they asked for my ID, and then they waited for Elliot to call them. He called them and he said, "It's my brother, let him in." But he had to send someone to come and fetch me, because one thing about that estate is that you are not even allowed to walk on the road. If you are a visitor, you are supposed to be inside a car until you arrive at the house where you are going. When I arrived at the house, which Elliot said was his house, my jaw dropped. It was not just a house. It was a beautiful house. It seemed as if they just made that house of glass. It was so beautiful. And the party, it was already going there. It was like from a music video. The way that people were dancing by the pool, just enjoying. And they were not pumping loud music. It was just soft music. They were just vibing to this chill, soft music. And everyone was just chilling. It was so nice. No violence, nothing. It was an all-white party. So I was wearing my white clothes as he had instructed me to wear only whites. And when I looked at the tables, everywhere was champagne, nice alcohol, and the house was packed full of South African bodies, beautiful women, those ones that you know on Instagram. They were taking pictures. Everyone was just enjoying. It felt as if I was no longer in South Africa. As for Elliot, he was all over the place, kissing women, enjoying. He was himself, that guy that I knew, who was very loud and always telling people that he has money. So as the night went on, everyone was drinking alcohol, and then I managed to isolate one beautiful woman. She was highly intoxicated. I went to her and she was so beautiful. I managed to isolate her, and then she agreed to go and sleep with me. We were looking for an empty, quiet, nice room, and we wanted to be intimate. As we were walking upstairs, we were moving from one room to another. Each and every room that you entered, the sounds coming out of there, they were like, people were busy making love. There was no room where people were not being intimate. Finally, we pushed this other door open, and then I switched on the light switch. The room, it was empty. It seemed as if it was a storeroom, but it had a couple of boxes, but there was no bed, no wardrobe, and it had massive black curtains, those ones that are sunblocks. And then just in the center of the room, I saw that there was a black coffin. That was so scary to see a coffin. The woman that I was with, she was really drunk. She did not even know where we were, and she was too beautiful. And when she bent over, I saw that this was the only opportunity to sleep with such a beautiful Instagram body. I took my protection, put it on, and I started to sleep with him. But my mind kept on thinking, why would Elliot have a brand new coffin inside of his house? I thought that maybe there was one of his relatives that had died in South Africa. They were going to use that coffin to transport that dead person. It really did not even make sense. After making love, I then returned back and I started drinking alcohol, and I passed out whilst I was sleeping close to the pool. So in the morning, I then saw Elliot. He came to where I was. I still had babalas, and he came and he sat with me by the pool. He was having his breakfast. He was claiming that one of these days he was going to marry a rich South African actress. I won't mention her name. He was already speaking with that lady. So Elliot was telling me a lot about what had happened after we had gotten fired. Whilst he was talking about his businesses and how he was using other South Africans to run his businesses, and he still claimed that he did not have a birth certificate from his country. I then said, okay, Elliot, I hear everything that you are saying, but last night I was looking for a room to sleep with this other beautiful girl, and I accidentally opened this other room and I saw a coffin, man. What is going on? What's happening? Are you now selling coffins? Are you going to use this coffin for something? Elliot, he froze. Brother Nashi, he nearly choked himself because he was busy eating some bacon there. And then he said to me, I don't know what you are talking about, man. Here, take this. He tried to hand me a glass that he had poured Hennessy, and he said, you were just drunk, my man. You were just drunk. And he was trying to avoid me. I knew what I saw, but I did not push him because I wanted him to assist me to get a job in his company. So after that, I kept on bothering him, telling him I was desperate because my sister and her husband, they would fight, and it would be like I am picking sides with my sister. So I just wanted to get out of their house and to live somewhere else. Elliot then told me that I could meet him at this other restaurant, and he was going to send me a location. And then when I arrived at that restaurant, he then said to me, Jabu, you are my brother from another mother, so I'm going to tell you the truth. He then remained quiet for a little while. That was when he said, you see, that coffin that you saw, that coffin is the one that gives me money. This is where my money comes from. He paused a little while and he was looking around as if there was someone that was hearing our conversation. He would wait for the waiters to pass and then he would continue, and he said to me, it is not an easy life that I am living. That is why I am always hosting these parties. And once or twice a month, I have to find a mentally unstable woman, a mad woman. I have to pick her from the streets and bring her secretly to my house and sleep with her inside of that coffin. That is the covenant that I made with a powerful traditional healer that I met when I was deported back to Zimbabwe. He told me that after we had been fired, he said, after I was fired, I then spoke with one of my ex-brother-in-law. I used to stay with the sister, and then he called me and he said, you can come and we can work together in Soweto. They were working at this other certain brickyard. So one day they were raided by the police and they were arrested. He then said to me, but if you want a nice life, I can take you to the place where I was taken by my other friend that I met when we were on the Gumba, when we were being taken back to Zim. This man became my friend and he took me to a powerful traditional healer who helped me to do these money rituals. I was deeply shocked. I did not know what to think about it. When I started to think about it, I kept on looking at him and I said, man, are you telling me the truth? And he said, yes, I'm telling you the truth. How else do you think that I could have managed to get so much money to become a millionaire in South Africa if I was not helped by my ancestors? Whilst we were still in that restaurant, I then said, take me there, Elliot. I begged him, take me to this healer, to this Sangoma in your country. I want to do it. I don't care about the sacrifices. And Elliot, he refused and he said, no, Jabu, you think you are strong, but you don't know what you are asking for. If I was you, I would rather stay poor. But I did not listen. For nearly 8 months, I would beg him every single time that he would call me to ask me how I was doing. I would say, man, just take me to your country. I want to go there. I am broke. I am poor. my baby mamas, they want me to get arrested because I am failing to pay the money that they felt for maintenance. So after about 8 months, 9 months, that was when Elliot texted me and he was like, Jabu, what are you doing? And I called him immediately and I told him that I was hanging around. I was not doing anything. He was like, okay, pack your bag. You need to pack your bag with clothes that you can wear for a minimum of 1 month. And I was like, what about a passport? And he laughed at me. And he said, passport for what? As long as you are with me, I am going to protect you. And then he came and he picked me up. But when he came to pick me up, he did not have that same car. He had hired a driver with another car, and he came and he picked me up. And then we went to the place where there were a lot of buses that were from Zim. We got onto the bus. To my surprise, no one even asked anything. If I was a South African, if I was a Zimbabwean, they just wrote my name. Even when I mentioned my name, Jabu, and my surname, the driver did not even look at me when he was writing the ticket. I was handed my bus ticket, and then there was an extra price. I don't know what it was for because I did not have a passport. We arrived at the border and we crossed into Zim, and by the time that we were in Zim, things became so different, and we finally arrived at the place where he was staying. I still remember that we passed through the capital city until we arrived at his village. So we stayed a little bit in the village. We visited his relatives. He will take each and every opportunity to say that he had a friend that he had brought with him that was from South Africa, and the people there, they were really nice. When it was time for us to go to the Sangoma, we then went to another village which was very far from Jabu's village. Those people in Zim, they walk. Joe Elliot told me that we were going to the village which was behind the mountain, which was the one that we were looking at, but it was about 40 kilometers or so. He just said behind that mountain. We walked, Brother Nashi, for hours. When we arrived at this other village, which was close to that mountain, he said, let us sleep today, we will continue tomorrow. The next day when we passed that village, that was when he showed me another mountain, and he said, yeah, that is the place where we are going. We walked for the whole day, and we finally arrived at that village, and we were taken to the Sangoma's house. We were so tired. I still remember the first time that I saw that Sangoma. They are very different from the Sangomas here in our country. Those guys, you can feel that these ones, they are working with the devil, or they have too much power. When I was taken into the consultation room, the traditional healer, he was wearing a leopard skin, a real leopard skin, and then he did not ask my name. He knew that I had came for some money, and he told me that he was going to give me what I had came looking for. He said, okay, I want you to write your name there, and to write your father's name and his surname, and to write your mother's name and the surname as well. So I was then given a book. It was an old book with thousands and thousands of names. Everyone that has ever done a ritual, collected a charm from that Sangoma, your name is written in that book. It is their proof that if you come back, they will just look at the place where they wrote your name, and they will tell you that this is what we agreed upon. So you can't go there and just dump the tokoloshi, because there are things that they ask you when you want money. You just say yes because you want money, not knowing the consequences of what is going to happen after that. The healer then said, if you want money, do as I told you. So I wrote my name, my surname, but I could not write my father's name because I do not know my biological father's name, and I do not know my clan's name as well, because I am using my mother's surname. So when I told him that I do not know my own clan name, I grew up without my father, and I was using my mother's surname, The healer then said to me, okay, it's fine, there is no problem. He then started to speak inside of this other clay pot that was close to him. That was when he reached into that clay pot and he took out, it was a seashell, and he gave it to me, and he said, since you do not know your father's clan, you're going to be adopted by a marine spirit, meaning that from today you are the son of a mermaid. This shell, you are supposed to keep it with you at all the times. Keep it in your pocket. It should never be broken. He handed it to me, and then I was then told to take this other skin of a large python. It was already dried, and they told me to wrap it around my waist. I did so 7 times. After I was done, I was then told that I was supposed to wait for 3 days. After 3 days, they were washing me with herbs that were really strange, and then they told me to walk around to find a mad woman. And this mad woman, I was supposed to bring her back to that village. So then Elliot said to me, if the police or anyone stop you and ask you who you are, you will tell them that you are a Zimbabwean man, but since you are Zulu, you will say that you are a Ndebele man that is from Kai and you are looking for a job, so that they don't know you are from South Africa. I left that shrine. I had that seashell. It was inside my jacket pocket. I thought that it was going to be easy to see a mad woman, but I walked and I walked. I ended up spending 1 week walking around villages, moving from one town to another, looking for a mad woman. On the 7th day, I was at this other bus rank. That was when I saw a young mad woman. She was picking up food from a dustbin, and I did as I had been told to do. I walked towards that woman when no one was really watching me, and then I took that seashell and I pointed it directly at her forehead, but I was standing a few meters away from him. And then that woman, she looked at me and then she started to follow me. She followed me. We walked back to that village. We reached the shrine. The healer did not waste any time. He said, I know that you are tired. He then took me to this other mud hut that was at the back of the houses. And inside, there were red and black blankets. And in the center, there was a very big wooden coffin. 3 people could fit inside of that coffin. He said, enter into the coffin and you can sleep with him. I slipped down without bathing, and I took that mad woman. She was smelling. I made her to sleep inside of that coffin, and I started to sleep with him. Then I was then given another charm that I was supposed to use to bath with when I arrived back in Joburg. I arrived in Joburg, and my sister, whom I was staying at her house, she passed away within a month. Once she had passed away, she then started to appear in my dreams. She would cry, and then one day she brought with him a massive bag that was full of cash. It happened in my dream, and then when I woke up, I saw that there was money. And I got my own apartment, and I started pushing a useless business that really does not make any profit. It is just a business that will make people think that I am doing something. That is why I am getting rich. Now that we are in 2026, I feel trapped because I have to find a mad woman once or twice each and every month, and I sleep with that mad woman inside a coffin. I do have a coffin, and these coffins, I bought 2 of them when my sister was sick, and then the other one, I went and I collected it from the funeral home, and I have it in my house. This is where I am. I am being tormented by a Togoloshi, and when I returned back to that Sangoma, I said, if you do not want to use my charms anymore, you need to give me your son so as to appease my own ancestors that have been working for you and giving you money. If you know anyone that can pray for me, a very powerful prayer please assist me. I'll be there in the comment section. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by one of our dear brother. Let us speak with our brother in the comment section. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. If you know anyone that can help our brother with some prayers, please, you can write in the comment section, or you can come to my inbox at Brother Nashim. I'll be back with another episode.